Welcome back here to the Museum of History in Gatineau, just across the river from Parliament Hill. All 6 leaders faced off here tonight for the final debate, a chance for them to make their impressions to Canadians, to Quebecers, to French-speaking Canadians as the campaign heads now into its final days. So, good time for At Issue. Chantal Hébert is in Montreal tonight, Andrew Coyne is in Toronto, and Althea Raj is here in Gatineau with me. Okay, I want to start just by playing a little clip pack we put together of some moments that I thought spoke to a lot of what happened in the debate, in case people missed it. So take a listen to this.
So in other words, voting for the Bloc is voting for the Liberals, voting for the Bloc is voting for the Conservatives, voting for the Bloc is voting for Quebec. We will sit in the House of Commons. It's a democracy.
Mr. Blanchet said voting for the Bloc is voting for Quebec, and that bugs me a little bit because, yes, you're the Bloc, but Quebec has a diversity of opinions, a diversity of regions, a diversity of voices, so you have no monopoly over Quebec. Not at all. You have no monopoly.
I was going to say the same thing because I am a proud Quebecer and I'm Federalist and I'm a proud Canadian. And what we saw in 2015 was that Quebecers chose to be part of a government. And that's what brought an end to 10 years of Mr. Harper.
Okay, so I obviously picked those clips because they speak to, I think, a full frontal attack, as much as they could anyway, on the Bloc leader. Chantal, what did you make of that or the debate overall?
I understand that it would have been the hope of the other leaders that this would be the segment of the debate that would most stay with Quebec voters because the Bloc has been going up at all of their expenses. I suspect that it will not be because the debate over what the Bloc is about, whether it's relevant or not after 25 years, is not really on anyone's radar, nor is the fear that the Bloc will suddenly resuscitate sovereignty for most Federalists in this province. But, and I don't, at the end, I think it mattered more for Andrew Scheer that he manages to make a dent in Mr. Blanchet's armor, and I don't think that he totally succeeded. So I'm not convinced that the Bloc will come out tonight stronger, but I don't think that it will be brought down.
Andrew, do you think that they managed to maybe stop the bleeding at any rate in Quebec?
Yeah, that's the way I would put it, is they did not put do much damage to Blanchet, but they did, I think, both Trudeau and Scheer did well enough, I think, to stop the erosion in their own support. But what was most interesting, of course, about this debate was for voters who were maybe tuning in for the first time, hadn't been paying close attention to the election, this is a debate that actually helped them understand what the leaders stood for, what made them tick, what were their priorities, what were their values. The format, the questions, even the moderation, the thing was just really, really well done. This is what a debate should look like, and we need to learn from this example.
I'll try not to cry myself to sleep tonight as you say that. But I agree
with you.
I think it was
format, you know.
Yeah, I know. I think it was substantive and interesting, and it was a good contrast of everyone. I'm sure Althea would agree too.
Yeah, it was nice to have the 3-on-3 rather than have like the free-for-all of all 6 trying to fight for time. And you got a much better sense of people's policy differences, the nuances. We had fewer sound bites. So yeah, all around, I think the format was a lot better this evening. I would be interested to know how many Anglophones actually paid attention, because suffering through translation oftentimes is not very easy. That being said, I thought that Maxime Bernier did really well compared to Monday evening. Obviously, he is more comfortable in this language, but you know, he's offside with the other leaders on so many issues, and yet he was, I thought, pretty clearly and convincingly put. I mean, even some of those kind of more out there proposal, like studying the impact of the sun on climate change. But aside from that one, maybe he did a very good compare and contrast, and if anything, maybe he succeeded in securing his own seat in the vote.
He did do a good compare and contrast, but I didn't hear anything out of his mouth that I thought would be attractive to Quebecers. Maybe I'm crazy, but there.
No, that's a fair.
Go ahead, Andrew.
That's a fair statement. But what you did see was what might have been if he had not marginalized his party by pandering to extremists on immigration and on climate science. When the issues were on economic and fiscal conservatism and these kinds of issues, it was refreshing to see somebody up there, when all the other party leaders were saying, let's just spend tens of billions more, to hear somebody saying, well, we can't afford it. So it's too late for him, I think. I don't think he's going to be able to make more than a marginal dent on this impact on this election. But hopefully he'll learn from that experience.
But even a marginal dent in the case of what is happening to the Conservatives, or has been happening since the TVA debate, is too much of a dent, because Mr. Bernier is fishing in Conservative waters. So if you don't like the Bloc, but you're not thrilled by Andrew Scheer, then you have yet one more option to turn to. I thought Justin Trudeau was more present, seemed more alive in this debate than he did on Monday. And he was more engaged. But I do think the Bernier example is a good reference for viewers who are not francophone, that they can measure the difference it makes when you're arguing in your first language. Bernier was almost absent on Monday, in large part because his English isn't really good. And tonight, Elizabeth May suffered from that in the reverse.
Yeah, she did. And Jagmeet Singh, I know, he got a little, I don't know if it was, I don't think we've seen shift in the polls or anything, but he at least got some added attention after Monday's debate. He had a couple of zingers, I guess, that he managed to land, but I'm not sure it was much more than that.
It wasn't his best debate.
No, I think he was stronger on Monday. Maybe again because he's debating in his second language. He managed to make the point of the Liberals campaigning on the left and then governing on the right. Although I think probably most progressive would not think that Justin Trudeau, and people certainly on the right do not think Justin Trudeau has been governing on the right. I thought the Liberal leader's response to the secularism point was very interesting this evening, in the sense that he compared it to the battle for language rights outside of Quebec, to abortion rights and a woman's right to choose, which he has not said previously. It's very interesting to dissect, where the nuances are different in French and English. Andrew Scheer did not say that he was going to appeal medically assisted dying. He just said he was going to review it. He had said the opposite in the TVA debate. I wonder if these are calculated decisions, or if they're just, I missed an opportunity, or time went by and I didn't really know what I was saying.
I will say that assisted suicide question from the woman who was suffering and wanted some answers was
very
a deeply moving and very human moment for all of them, where they had to answer someone, to her face. I thought that was quite an incredible debate moment. Did this one change anything? I know I asked you that on Monday. No one seemed to think that it did. Does this one have the potential to change anything, Andrew?
I don't see much movement coming out of this, but we don't know. For voters, again, who are looking for more information about what the candidates stand for, those voters may find this extremely helpful, and some of them may change their mind on it, but I can't see it in any predictable way.
No. Chantal?
I agree with Andrew. I thought the main trends were pretty much baked in before this debate, and I didn't think that Andrew Scheer or Jagmeet Singh could alter the course of where their parties are going in this province, at least on October 21st. But if there were voters who were still wavering, wondering if Justin Trudeau that they voted for was still someone they wanted to vote for, maybe on that border, it may have made a difference, but I don't think it upset the dynamics that we've observed here.
What do you think, Althea?
I think Justin Trudeau probably did what he needed to do in this debate more than in others, in that he made Quebecers feel comfortable voting Liberal and gave them more meat around the bones, even like on immigration and Roxon Road. I think it'll be interesting to see if Maxime Bernier gets a bump in Quebec, because I think some people might feel not comfortable voting for Andrew Scheer or Blanchette, but now they have this refreshing new voice that probably was not on their agenda before. But I don't think that on the left, there was any reason in this debate for votes to move.
I only have like 90 seconds, but because I'm not going to see you, well, who knows? I call you all the time, and these bat signals go out at any moment of the day. But assuming I don't see you till next Thursday, Do we think that we know the outcome at this stage? I'm not going to ask you what the outcome is, but do you feel like you know how this is going to end without saying what the ending is, Chantal?
Well, without saying what the ending is, it's getting very late in the game for Mr. Scheer to kind of win over BC, Ontario, and Quebec. And he needs to do better than what we're seeing if he has to still have a shot at government.
Andrew?
Yes, I think time is running out both for Andrew Scheer and for Justin Trudeau. That it is, with the increased support for the NDP, the increased support for the Bloc, it looks harder for the Liberals to get a majority, and it's certainly looking harder for Andrew Scheer to have any hope of forming a government. He would need a majority, frankly, but even a minority at this stage, because there just isn't an issue, it seems like, for him to really get the traction in Ontario, which is where he only really has the hope of moving.
Althea, and you don't have to say what the outcome is, even these two sort of hinted at things.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because the way you look at the vote splits in 2015 in Quebec, for example, four-way splits, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not sure either, but the next week will be interesting. Okay, I'll try not to call before next Thursday, but please stay by the phone. Thank you all. Appreciate it very much. That is, of course, the last ad issue before election night. Maybe. We'll see.